going to jump on here and talk about Jonathan David, but something slightly more interesting, I think anyway, has cropped up. Now, the Jonathan David stuff is easy enough to skim over in a minute or two, and that is that West Ham seems to be making reasonably good progress with attempts to sign him on a free transfer. In case you've got your head stuck in the sand, you don't know, he's a Lille striker, Canadian striker, scores goals in Ligue 1 and scores goals in the Champions League. He's available on a free transfer, and pretty much if you'd have gone back 6 weeks, something like that, the world and his wife was all looking to sign this player. However, his first choice, Barcelona, appeared to have dropped out. His second choice, Arsenal, appeared to have dropped out, and people are basically dropping like flies. Now, I don't particularly know what that means. I think David is a very, very good player. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a very good player, but he's probably not elite. And it's hard to say. He's not 5-star. He's 4-star. Let's put it that way. And I think with Arsenal, if they were looking to try and get Alexander Isak, I'm not sure they are going to get him, but they're looking at someone at that level. I'm not sure David is quite at his level. And I think even though he is available on a free transfer, it's still going to cost a lot, an awful lot, to get him signed up. Now, West Ham initially had made a very, very bad offer for him, as I understand it, very low. Not only were we not offering Champions League football, which he thought he could get, and probably still can, and certainly he would like to get that, but we were also nowhere near on the money. Now, depending on which newspaper you read, will differ depending on how much we've offered, but it's probably safe to say he's sort of like a £50 million player, this player. I think the overall package to get him is probably going to be something close to that. Now, that's including his wages as well. The thing is, ordinarily, if you're going to sign him, you'd have to spend £50 million plus his wages. So I understand his representatives want about £10 million. He wants about a £15 million signing on fee, then you're going to have his wages. You're still getting him cheaper than you would before. And you probably, if you're going to go out and try and buy someone like Liam Delap, who apparently has a £40 million buyout clause in his Ipswich contract. If you're going to go and get somebody like that, you're probably going to end up paying more than you would pay for Jonathan David. Been told that Liverpool are not interested, Chelsea are not interested. All these clubs keep falling by the wayside, and little old West Ham are sort of left in there. I don't know if Tottenham are, but I think Tottenham have got an interesting one anyway, because the one thing, obviously, David does want is to play football, and he's taken his football very, very seriously, and it's not just all about money, because otherwise he would have just taken up that offer from Saudi Arabia. I think it's hard to know what goes on at Tottenham. I think even Tottenham don't know what's going on at Tottenham, but they got Dominic Solanke there, and I think it's probably hard to say you're guaranteed a first-team place. I think at West Ham, you can say you're guaranteed a first-team place. And as I understand it, Graham Potter has had 2 meetings with his representative. He's got a name very much like Mavropanos. I don't know. I'll only slaughter it anyway. But Potter's had 2 meetings with his representative. So we're in with a shout. We're in with a chance. Still, all the Serie A teams are still in, and I think they've offered a similar amount of money to us. But apparently he was... Can you hear the gunfire there? I know I said it yesterday. I don't know if you could hear it there. I don't know if the microphone's picking it up. I've actually got the door open there. Just in case you didn't watch Jesse's video, you've never seen any of my videos. I live in the middle of 2 army bases, basically. So, yeah, that's what you can hear. They're doing practice. They're doing practice, shooting practice, which ironically enough is what West Ham could do with. And I sort of look at the Jonathan David situation. Some things you can't believe, because apparently his representatives were impressed with what Graham Potter said about his plans for the team next season. And yeah, okay, I'm sure, because he can be very impressive, can't he, Potter, when he's speaking. And I think the difficult thing is, if he was going along and seeing games, it's then hard to say, oh look, well, this is where your client is going to fit into our system, because we're not really. Well, we're just not scoring. We're not creating chances at all, are we? I think the other thing is, I did a video about the young lad, the Icelandic player Haraldsson, if you remember, who was also at Lille. Really good, really, really good young player. Very, very creative passer. If you're going to get Jonathan David, you're going to need somebody like that in the team. And there's no doubt that we're going to need somebody like that to basically load up the ammunition for him to fire the bullets, so to speak. So there you go. This is Jonathan David. I said 2 minutes. Whoops. Sorry. There you go. The other thing I did actually want to discuss was David Gold. And I need to do a little bit more research on this one because David Gold obviously passed away and his estate has been in probate. Now, that's now gone. Basically, his will has been released, and that was released yesterday. So, without me going into the details of the will, the trustees are basically the recipients of his will. I think he left some money to a couple of friends as well. There are a couple of long-term employees who he left like 50 grand to and stuff like that. So, but once those sort of benevolent gestures have been made, the rest of the money went to his trustees, and it was £137 million. And the trustees like his daughter Vanessa, I think his son-in-law Dan, his granddaughter Scarlett, the sort of people you would expect the trustees in a will to be. What was odd, though, was that if you look at his stake in West Ham, 25% stake in West Ham, that in itself is valued at 160 million, which that already exceeds what his estate was. So I can only assume it wasn't incorporated in his estate, because his estate was basically all the money. He had a lot of money, and just before he passed away, his net worth was said to be about 450 million. So there's that. You've also got all the Ann Summers stuff, and I don't know if that is separate. The truth of the matter is I don't know. What I do know is that his West Ham shares are no longer in probate, which means they can be sold now. Apparently, Vanessa Gold is willing to sell half of her 25%. That's 12.5% for those of you that haven't been to school today. And that's available. That is available now. If you want them, you can probably buy them if you've got that spare cash down the back of your sofa. So there is a valuation, probably about 75 million pounds worth of shares, something like that. I'll tell you what is going to be interesting, though, is whether or not Sullivan or Kretinsky go in to get these shares, because we've heard everything. We've heard that Sullivan would quite like to increase his shareholding. We've also heard that Sullivan would quite like other new investors to come in. We've heard that Daniel Kretinsky is quite happy to leave West Ham and go elsewhere, which I've been reassured by so many different people is not true. But we also get to hear that Daniel Kretinsky is, I don't know if you can, a sippy behind, Daniel Kretinsky. You can see him in a minute. I know you've not featured on the channel for a while. Our patrons have seen him. We'll try and, he's just buggered off actually. Can you say that? Can we say buggered off on a YouTube channel? Anyway, there you go. He's buggered off. Scarpered. He's gone. Kretinsky wants to increase his shareholding. In fact, was told a couple of weeks ago when it was said that maybe Kretinsky was fed up with West Ham. I was told by numerous people very, very quickly afterwards. No, he's more likely to take the club over than leave. So now we've got the proof of the pudding, right? Now we can really find out which one of these rumours is true. If he doesn't, we're gonna find out. Basically, if he does nothing, he's just quite happy as it is, and he just sees West Ham. I'm talking about Kretinsky here as an investment. That's all it is. He's not really interested in anything else apart from just having a stake in something. He's got stakes in a lot of things, hasn't he? But if he really, really does want to start building up his shareholding and take over, he'll go and buy those shares because they're available. We now know why they've not been sold up to now, because they're in probate. They couldn't be sold. But now they're available. Now they can be sold. It'd be interesting to see how quickly that happens. If it doesn't happen at all, I don't think that bodes particularly well for West Ham. If sort of Sullivan says, I don't want him, Kretinsky says, I don't want him, and as we know, Baroness Brady, Lady Brady, Karren Brady, she has been out to the Middle East last year to try and drum up some more investment, and it was unsuccessful. And yeah, I mean, we've all had that eBay auction that nobody bids on, haven't we? So yeah, we'd be interested to see what happens. Zippy, come here. He's probably not listening. He's not listening. It's absolutely typical. And a lot of the times we record these videos, you can't get rid of him. You sort of boot him. Zippy! You're not going to be... I just look like somebody... if you've ever seen The Detectorists, is that what it's called? Quite good. If you've got BBC iPlayer, go and have a look. It passes the time. I'm not saying it's the best comedy you've ever watched, but it's quite good. There's a guy who's got an imaginary dog, and I think that's... You're obviously thinking that's me at the moment, calling for a dog. I'm going to try one more time, otherwise I'm just going to look like a complete idiot. I look like an idiot anyway. Zippy! Got a terrible recall on him. Come here. What's this? What's it? I've got him. Here we go. Right. Come here. Right, here we go. Here he is. Come here, you. Do you remember? Oh, my goodness. There he is. Look at the size of him. There you go. I don't know if you can still hear me, but there you go. There he is. He's... Oh, bloody hell. He's bigger than me. Not hard, I guess, but... Whew. There you go. Anyway, he's off to be weighed in a minute. Not on my scales. Off to the vets to be weighed. Oh, dear me. Whilst, little segue here, whilst West Ham are weighing up whether to increase their bid for Jonathan David. Not bad, huh?